Welcome to the first episode of one of our nicest series yet, Series 69. This series, we are delighted to have with us one half of the Storybrewers, Haley Gordon, to learn about their fantastic sports anime-inspired game, Fight with Spirit. But before we get to today's episode, here's what to expect in the calls to action after the show. Join us back here to learn about the new stickers coming out of our Patreon sticker club, along with patron thank yous and normal episode closer stuff. It's just me again this week because life has not been letting up for us so far this year, but we are both very thrilled to have you here with us. With all of that out of the way, enjoy the show, everyone.
This is my time.
Welcome to Character Creation Cast, a show where we discuss and create characters, the best part of role-playing games, with guests using their favorite systems. I'm one of your hosts, Ryan, and this episode, my co-host Amelia and I are excited to welcome Haley Gordon, game designer and lead writer for the Storybrewers, to discuss their game, Fight with Spirit, a sports drama RPG about a team growing up together and fighting for their passion.
Haley, welcome to Character Creation Cast. We are so excited to talk about this game. It's going to be a good one. I'm pretty stoked.
Thanks for having me. I'm very excited to make some sport kids with y'all.
Yes. Could you tell us a little bit about who you are, your pronouns, what sorts of things you do, and where people can find you?
Absolutely. So I'm Haley. My pronouns are she and they, and I am one half of Storybrewers Role Playing, the creator of this game, and also Good Society, a Jane Austen RPG, which is probably our most popular game. And yeah, you can find us everywhere at Storybrewers, or if you type Storybrewers Role Playing into your browser, our website will appear on which you can browse our varied games.
It's just magic.
Through the magic of Google. You can.
Well, let's go ahead and get into this, and we can start by discussing what this game is all about.
What's in a game?
All right, so what is the core concept of Fight with Spirit?
So Fight with Spirit is a collaborative role-playing game, as you mentioned earlier, about a high school or college team fighting for their passion and growing up together. So it involves all those sport things like honing your skills, facing down rivals, and striving to prove yourself in tense matches. But it's also very much about relationships, about friendships, feelings, and the challenges of change. And of course, drama, the drama in sports drama.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. The reason we all watch it mostly. I've been watching through Ted Lasso with my son, who is like, I thought this was a dumb show about soccer. Why am I crying? And I was like, that's exactly because that's how sports make you feel, friend. Can you tell us about the kind of setting that you play in this game? Are we talking about like modern day? Is it something that's sort of flexible? Is it?
Yeah, so the base game itself is by default in a modern day setting, but it sort of has a set of schools that you can choose from during the game, which kind of like create a little, neighborhood area with its own characteristics. However, it's very flexible if you wanted to change it into your own setting, and actually every copy of the game comes with like a free couple of expansions. There's one for playing in history and there's one for playing in fantasy, and those already like change up the setting to something completely different. And I've had people be like, hey, let's have a sports episode of our usual D&D game, or let's do Blood Bowl or whatever. So it can be very flexible in that way if you take matters into your own hands.
Yeah, I know the folks over at the Campaign Podcast did the Skyjoust version of this game, which it was just fantastic.
Yeah, we custom made the new schools and stuff for that version as well. So
amazing.
Had an bit of extra pizzazz.
Yeah.
Well, what sort of tools then do we need to play this game?
So if you're playing in person, basically all you need is the box. It's got everything that you need inside it, except a pen maybe, but that's kind of it. And everything else you need is in the box. If you're playing online, the game comes with online support in the form of, firstly, there's like an online play document that's linked from the PDF, and that's like, kind of fancy. We put effort into making linked drop downs and stuff to make your job easy. And then as well as that, there is a playingcards.io file that comes with the game, which has all the cards basically compressed into that file. And all you need to do is kind of load that file into a playingcards.io room, and then you're good to go for matches as well.
Ooh, cool.
That's pretty cool.
I like that you went through and thought about all of those kind of digital things.
Yeah,
especially,
we play
it's a
lot online, so it's
well, I think
work.
especially since the pandemic and everything, more and more people are playing that way. And so it's always really nice when games have tools and have kind of thought that through, so that you don't have to do that added work of trying to make your game fit. I always appreciate when there's like robust digital options for those things, because I don't have a local group at all. Like my friends are all over the place, so it's really nice.
For sure.
Absolutely.
What kind of stories and themes did you want to explore with a sports RPG?
I think that the main kind of like themes that come out in this game is like, first, themes around the self, like growth, change, dealing with like your own angst of like, am I good enough? Could I be better? Could I be different? And then there's the like precipice of the end of school or the end of college theme that comes out really strongly too. It's like, what does it mean that this is the last moment I do this thing? And what am I going to do next? And what does that mean for my life? And the relationships mirror that as well, where it's like, what do these relationships mean that I'm experiencing the end of the last moment of these relationships? Which ones are going to continue maybe, and which ones are going to end, and what does that mean for me? And this idea of like, you're immersed in this complete world that is very consuming for you right now, but you know that in a year or two, your life is going to be completely different. So I think that's the two sort of themes in the game: the personal growth, striving, proving yourself, dealing with your own angst that you're not good enough side, and then the like liminal time is running out side of things as well.
That's amazing. I do love you've got all of that wrapped up in here. With all of those themes, what do you as a character then do in this game? Well,
you do very important things. You're part of a team, and you're going to be in a tournament, a very important tournament. And basically, during the course of the game, you're going to battle your way through that tournament, starting at the quarterfinal round. And should you be successful all the way up until the grand final round, with, the hope, the dream in your heart of making the nationals. But as well as that, every character in the game has traits, which can be something like they're sort of a bit more than just an attribute. They're also like a story hook and a drive for your character as well. So, for example, if you had the trait back from disgrace, you have a little bit of a story hook in the form of like that you burnt out, let your old team down in the worst of ways, and you just left. And then you also have a drive in the form of apologize to your old team or work on yourself to change your ways. And so that's going to drive a lot of the drama side of the game as well. So basically, sports matches, personal angst.
In my brain, it's because I'm like trying to like compare this to like the sort of like sports movies and things that I've watched, which are not a lot, admittedly. Like I have not, because I'm thinking I'm not big into like anime and stuff like that. So like I know that there's a lot of those kinds of stories in that, but that's not a thing that I ever really got into. So in my mind, I'm thinking Ted Lasso because that's what I've been watching lately. And then I am thinking about High School Musical movies. Because I'm like, yes, Troy and his basketball career.
Well, right?
Bring it on.
Yeah.
There you go. That's a good.
You've got the dance competitions.
Bring It On was definitely an inspiration for this game.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So I love this. We'll have to, so dear listeners, when I start making parallels to things that I've seen, please know that this is the material I am drawing from. I'm talking about somebody who's let their team down. I'm like, that's Jamie Tart. It's great. I got it. I know what we're talking about here.
Yeah. I'm also getting there's another PBTA game, Worldwide Wrestling, I think it's called, where it has that kind of dichotomy between the matches and the behind the scenes drama and everything. It feels like not too many games have that dichotomous relationship between like the official thing and then the like behind the scenes thing where like all of the juicy drama kind of sits.
Yeah. Which I think is a hallmark of like all sort of sports media, right? Because I don't think I would watch a show that's just like only takes place during the games. It's like I have actual sports for that, right? Like if I wanted to only watch people play soccer, I would go and I would sit down and I would watch like an Arsenal match, right? I wouldn't, but recently there's been some like shakeup and drama in F1 racing. Because like a very big Lewis Hamilton left the Mercedes team to go to Ferrari. And it's like this big uproar. And so I'm asking my brother about it and he's like telling me all the drama behind it. And I'm like, should I be watching this sport? And he's like, oh yeah, I'm like at least 75% into watching this for the drama that happens off the track. Like he's
That's
like
amazing.
The cool car engineering stuff is fine, but like watching a race itself is not that exciting. He's like, I'm totally in it for what's going on behind the scenes. So like I feel like more games should really we should have more drama in sports.
Just lean into that.
Yeah. Hashtag more drama in sports.
Yeah.
I'd be way more
Get
into
some cameras on the sidelines,
right?
folks.
That's why I love when they like mic the players in sports and stuff. I'm like, I want the juicy gossip, like, like throwing around a
You
ball
can't do
or
that on live
kicking
TV,
things
though.
is great, but I want to know. I want to know what's happening behind the scenes. Who's friends?
Absolutely.
Who's not?
And I think structurally for a game, it makes a lot of sense because you do very different activities as a player in and out of matches. And so breaking matches up and treating them differently to the rest of play is kind of necessary to capture the important elements of drama and of matches.
Well, I think, when you think about it, it's not really all that strange too, because when you play something like D&D, you have your downtime activities too. And there are certainly games where people are like dungeon crawl, but like a lot of people have sort of that like downtime, fun time between slaying dragons kind of thing. So it really isn't that wild of a thing to have.
It's effectively the combat of the sports.
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
Anime
Yeah,
sort of
there's
stuff.
winners and losers.
The actual match.
It's,
Yeah.
Yep. What do you think makes this game particularly unique? And honestly, I'm also kind of interested in like why a sports RPG? Like why was that something that you were interested in making?
So to answer the second question first, I think for us, the mark of a game that we might be interested in making is usually when you get that feeling of like imagining yourself in a situation or doing a thing, that's kind of a little sign for us of like, hey, this might be interesting to explore. So like watching a lot of sports dramas, sports anime, starting to think what would be my arc in this situation? What would I do? What would be my story? And that's kind of like a little moment for us where we're like, hang on, there's something here that people might like. And then, typically we'll be like, well, is there anything around for that? And if there isn't, then we'll kick it around a bit. But I think the thing that really kind of got us to push through with this game, because this game was in development for a long time. We had like the release version of this game is like version 15 or something. Like we had many failed iterations of this game. And so I think it became somewhat of our own like sports drama to like, I felt like the underdog team that just kept losing. And I was like, no,
no, we're going to make this year is our year.
Yeah, this year's our year. Yeah, we're going to get this. We're going to get this. It really felt like that by the end. And I think and then I think that the thing that was hardest for us ended up being one of the most unique things about the game, which is capturing the relationship between the drama and matches. Because you can have drama and you can have matches, but you want them to be related. You want them to be interconnected. Like it's you don't want them to feel like they're two separate. They're two separate activities. You don't want them to feel too separate. So I think that's the most unique thing about this game during the matches itself. Rather than playing out the sport blow by blow or anything like that, what you do is each player chooses something called a match game. And those match games are all structured around character arcs. So you might have the arc, how much would I give up for my team? Or am I anything by myself? Or something like that. And those, and every time you play out one of those, it focuses on an important moment during the match. And it simultaneously plays out who is going to win or lose the sports ball at that moment, but also what's going to happen to your character as they explore that arc for themselves. So just I suppose, the synthesis of the sports ball and the feelings is, in my opinion, probably one of the most unique things about this game.
Well, tying those things together is really difficult. And it's something that I've noticed a lot of games don't do. I don't want to say don't do very well, but don't do as well as I would like, or like to a satisfying conclusion, I guess. Because they are really, really tough to like make them mash up and make those different phases of the game go together. Is that the reason why it took 15 versions? Because it just wasn't like clicking for you, or?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah. Like I sort of mentioned, it was that we had working drama mechanics, we had a working match, but they weren't speaking to each other in the way that we would have liked. And for us, that was vital. That's what makes it a sports drama game rather than just a sports game.
Right, right.
It's interesting. Yeah, so you said it took a while. When did you actually start making the game? I know it was kickstarted successfully in October of 2021.
Yeah.
When did you actually begin the development?
So the very first version of the game was actually in 2018.
Oh wow!
Okay.
Yeah. By the end of 2019, we had like what I would call like the basic building blocks of the game. 2020, we didn't do anything on this game. We were too busy with other things, and then we came back to it in 2021 and started using those building blocks to build something that was usable and satisfying and fun for us. So yeah, really the game only got finished early last year.
That makes sense. Did you find that the year off helped when you came back to it to like reinvigorate your like creative approach to the development of the game?
I think so. I think the thing that helped was simply that we'd spent that year making a different game. So we had, I suppose, more design experience, and we tried a lot of different, we tried some different approaches with the game we'd made in the interim, and some of those fed back into our development of Fireway Spirit in a helpful way.
That makes a lot of sense. I know sometimes like working on something and then you get to a point where your brain starts to feel like you're almost going in circles because you're like, I need this thing to work with this thing. So if I do, and it's like, no, I already tried that. Okay. So like you just kind of keep doing the same thing over again. And sometimes that space helps. And then you do other things in the meantime and you come back and you're like, oh, it can be like this other thing that I did. But also I know sometimes it's really hard to come back to those things because you're like, where did I even leave off? What did I need to do? I wrote this over here and I don't even know what it means. So
for sure. But in some ways I like think about like I have had to do that for various games over time. And I usually like my brain, like my approach to that is like the good stuff is going to rise to the top. And if you can't remember how something works, it probably wasn't the right thing.
That's true. And I feel like that also kind of helps you probably come to it from like a player's perspective too, of like, okay, if you weren't sitting in the room while we designed this, does it even make sense to you? And if the answer is no, maybe it shouldn't be there then, you know? Yeah.
It really does help with that fresh pair of eyes to be like, oh yeah, I can fix this now. Certainly.
Before we actually jump into officially doing our character creation setup session 0 thing, are there basic terms and concepts you feel like people need to know to be able to follow along with us?
So I think that the things that I can probably explain them as we go. Like if I go through and explain
a lot of times people say
phase.
that's easier. It's like, it's
I
better
think
show
it
you.
will be.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. So I don't think
totally
there's anything
fair.
that I can't like explain at the beginning of the activity of us doing it. Yeah,
sure.
That would be better. More integrated.
Very cool. All right. Well, are we ready to make some people?
Let's make some people.
Let's make some people.
Let's make some people.
Oh, it's going to be good.
So what do we need to do first when we're looking at creating characters and or a sports team, I guess?
Yeah. So before we can even get around to our team and our characters, we need to complete something called collaboration. And basically what that is a series of decisions we're going to go through together to help us get on the same page for the game that's ahead. And these are kind of like broken up into 2 parts. Some of them are going to give us like important fictional details about the game. Like, are we going to be in high school or are we going to be in college? And other parts are going to be more about individual player preferences, things we might want to avoid in the game, things we want to see in the game and details of that nature.
Okay.
I'm ready for this.
So if you want to take a look at our group decisions section, the very first thing we need to decide, and people will often decide this before they start getting into the section and getting into their game, is what sport are we going to play?
I can't believe that I didn't even think about this at all.
Yeah.
I had a couple like off the wall thoughts.
I think we should play like pickleball or something.
Pickleball.
Fight with Spirit does work with like a very wide range of sports. So your traditional sports like basketball and soccer, anywhere to something like chess, or we've done jousting, or I did a dance battle game.
Ryan's gonna
so
say
really
volleyball.
there's a lot to choose from.
Yeah, competitive LARP was also a thought I had.
Competitive LARP. Okay.
But
that sounds like making characters within
much
characters, and that's too much for me. That's too much.
It's characterception.
Yeah, that sounds too confusing.
Yeah, no, I'm perfectly fine with pretty much anything. I know pickleball is pretty much
That's a very Midwestern thing to say. Yeah, that's why I thought of it.
I'm not the biggest fan.
I don't even know the rules. I don't know.
Not at all.
I think that the most important thing for the game is going to be that we all understand basically how the sport works.
Okay.
You don't have to know the details. You don't have to know the specifics of, like, say you're playing soccer. You don't have to know the different positions and exactly what each of them does and different ways to play them. But you do need to know that there's 11 people on the field. You got to kick the ball through the goal. If we don't have that level of understanding, then we're going to be in trouble.
Right.
So if we said Sims 4 esports, which is a callback to a previous game that we had done and made up a completely bonkers way to play Team Sims 4.
Yeah, to play Sims 4 on a team.
Competitively.
Yeah, where you all play the same character.
Yeah, that might be a little too out there for this recording.
I don't hate
but
esports,
I mean, we could,
though.
Esports could be really interesting, honestly.
Yeah.
Like,
but I don't know if there's any
competitive video games
game that I know well enough to be like.
I don't think it matters at that point, aside from you play the game and the point is to defeat the other team in the game.
Yeah.
Do we need more details than that?
When you're playing the game, you will have to describe yourself playing the game if you were playing a full game. For character creation, you can get away without that. So.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we can leave it nebulous as like we're going to be playing a I don't know, like maybe a strategy, real-time strategy game or something like that.
Yeah, because I feel like otherwise the only sports that I like vaguely know enough about are soccer, football, basketball, volleyball. Like that's my American football, obviously.
Yeah.
Which even Ryan's nodding his head like, yeah, I think I maybe know enough about that. I don't know. There's a guy.
Little bit.
That.
Yeah. What's like what are the big games like Destiny or
yeah.
I don't know. You know, those types of games, those big like
I mean like
Dota,
Fortnite is a big one.
Fortnite, yeah.
Yeah, like Nate played
like,
Overwatch.
So let's just say
when he did
Overwatch was another big one.
Mm-hmm.
So we could just say we're an esports team
that
is competing in the grand esport tournament.
Yeah, I think that works.
Work for you, Haley?
Yeah, we should give our fake game a name just so that we're not always like in character creation, like, and then I play the fake game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so passionate about fake game. And yeah.
What's a good name for this?
How about like something just off the wall, like Decimation Squad?
Ooh, I love it.
That works, yeah.
Decimation
like
Squad 4. I like 5 because we've already done Sims 4.
Yeah. Oh, sure. Decimation Squad 5.
And I like that because it tells us what we're going to be doing during the game. Decimating our opponents.
So
we don't
as a squad.
As a squad.
As a squad. So I think that's going to give us the detail we need.
And you happen to have 5 people on the team,
there you
too.
Go. Yeah.
Perfect.
This was the first game to expand into 5-player teams.
Nice. I like that. All right. So I think that situates us well for what sport we're going to be playing.
Amazing.
Yep. So the next question we have is, what heart will our story have? And the idea behind this question is that it is sort of like a tone that we're going to be using during the game. So Fight with Spirit is about like friendships, feelings, and the difficulties of growing up. And it's focusing on changing relationships and capturing moments where the future is unknown. And it is better when you lean into the drama and complexity of the characters' lives, and picking a tone helps guide us to explore the drama in a way that is fun for everyone. So that's kind of what we're about. And there's 3 options here. We've got from lightest tone to heaviest tone. We've got a laughing heart, which is comedic and larger than life with moments of sincere connection. The world is vibrant and surprising. Our future lies waiting for us, and no dream is out of reach. We've got a troubled heart, which is vulnerable, soul-searching, and heartfelt. The world is by turns judgmental and supportive. We are our own worst enemies. Can we battle through our feelings? And then we have a heavy heart, which is the dark, grim, passionate, and angry, like Friday Night Lights kind of situation. The world is hostile and unkind. There's a light at the end of the tunnel, but it fades easily from view. So which tone do we feel might be right for our game today?
I mean, judging by the fact that we're playing Decimation Squad 5, I feel like we have to go with a laughing heart.
Yeah,
I mean, the troubled heart is always like I like to play in sort of the more like difficult situations. But I feel like comedic is kind of where we've landed already.
Yeah, I think comedic would fit really well. I could easily see the grimdark version of this working really well also.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a pretty dark, heavy game,
Right.
It's pretty violent.
Well, I mean, the drama can be dark and heavy, right?
Yeah.
But like the game itself is, Decimation Squad.
Okay,
5.
but also I would like a game where the drama is really dark and heavy, but you're playing like Hello Kitty something or other. Like, I like the juxtaposition.
That's true. Yeah, let's go lighthearted.
Okay.
That sounds fantastic.
Let's do it.
All right. So comedic and larger than life with moments of sincere connection. Sounds good. So our next question is very relevant only if you're actually playing the game. But it's asking you whether you're going to use the not like this match game. So failure can be a fun part of your character's story, but it's not always the story you want to tell. And the Not Like This match game is a special game that you can use during a match to basically make a comeback if you fail. So you can choose to play with that match game if you always want to be able to reach inside yourself for more instead of like accepting defeat. Kind of gives the game a more heroic feel. And even if you do choose to use this match game in general in the game, that doesn't mean that you have to use it in a specific circumstance. So basically, the game will turn a loss into a draw. And if you feel like a loss is the right thing for your character at that moment, even if it's in use in the game, you can leave it on the side of the table. You can leave it resting there and be like, I'm going to take the loss this time. So,
yeah. I do like the option.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I feel like there's no harm in saying, yeah, let's have it there. Again, especially because we're not really going to be playing it, but if we did.
I do like the thought of utilizing that in play, though, and having that really dramatic turnaround moment.
Yeah, I do too.
It's a very dramatic game.
I love it.
Yeah.
And it fits our lighter tone as well to have that. Awesome. All right. So our next question, again, if we're playing a full game, how much detail will there be in our sports descriptions? And I think it's important to note that this question is not about sports accuracy, but about how much time and effort we devote to describing the details of sports action. So like Decimation Squad 5 isn't a real game that I'm aware of, but that doesn't mean we couldn't spend time describing the tactics and maneuvers we're going to use in it or the action of our characters playing it if we wanted to, right? So that's what this question is about. Yeah. And we kind of have three options here again. We've got light on detail, which is we'll try our best to describe our characters playing sport, but we won't worry about accuracy and may give more of an impression than specific detail. We have moderate on detail, where we're going to try our best playing sport and linger a bit on the technical aspects of a match. The physicality of the sport, or in this case, what's happening in the virtual world, is important to us, but we're not going to stop the game to find out details we don't know. Or we have a lot of detail,
impossible anyway.
Which we'll describe in detail the characters playing sport and spend time focusing on how the sports side of matches are playing out. We commit to arming ourselves with sports knowledge so we can achieve this. And surprisingly, you can actually do that option with a fictional sport. I have seen a group be like, we're going to work out every detail of our fictional sport so we can go really hard on the tactics and strategy, which I thought was cool. But a tough one when you just made up a sport.
Yeah, that'd be a lot of fun, I feel like, to be like, let's also build this whole game. I personally would love like moderate detail because I do want to be able to make things up as I go along. I also am personally okay if the things that I make up and the things that you or Ryan make up completely contradict each other, because I think that's great too.
That's just part of the game, right?
That was actually part of last season's rules, and now this season's rules. You know, they put out an update actually to the software, and now.
I like the thought of the light details being like you're watching them play, but you don't see the screen. You just see the player. You've been describing my player hitting buttons, basically. Moderate's like you're over the shoulder watching the game and watching them play. And then heavy detail is like you're actually in spectator mode in the game, watching the strategy unfold.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Within the graphics.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a great way to think about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think moderate detail, like I said, just because I want the room to be able to make things up.
Excellent. All right. So our next question is whether we're going to center on high school or college sports. So high school is always going to be later high schools. So because here high school is like the whole of your high school. I know in these States it's like high school is just a few years. Basically we're looking at grades 10 to 12, ages 15 to 18. Or college or university. Our characters are in college or university, and their ages are sort of 18 to 24-ish. And obviously, you can see, there's going to be different themes that come out.
Yeah. I personally like the college university level.
That's kind of where I'm leaning too.
Yeah.
Nice. I like that one as a default.
As a parent of teenage age children, I'm really good on that high school level drama right now. Thanks. I don't need any more hormones in my life.
Yeah, and I like that one as a default because it just makes it easier to introduce like some aspects like romance and stuff like that into the game if you want to go that way.
Absolutely.
All right, so our next question, we're going to be picking something very important, and that is which team that we're going to be using during the game and who we're going to be facing off against. So there are 4 teams that this game comes with. And each of these has their own unique story and they're also their own unique extra stuff like match games that really make them feel different to play during the matches themselves. So I will give you the short version of each of these, and later on we will dive into the full story of the one that we choose. But the 4 teams you can choose from are the Ashpoint Arrows, who are like the reigning powerhouse. So the Arrows have taken out the finals every year since you were in middle school. They don't intend to let their winning streak end. We have the Dockside Demons, who are the fallen champions. So once a powerhouse, the demons fell into disgrace. This year, however, they're on a roll and out to prove themselves. We have the South Beach Sharks, who are the rising newcomers. So until 2 years ago, South Beach didn't even have a team. They say an elite player arrived at the school and grew the team from nothing. And then we have the Newcrest Neons, who are the troubled talent. So the Neons have the talent to take out the championships if only they could figure out how to play as a team.
So those are all really good tropes.
Which one of those feels like the one that we want to explore during this and create our characters from?
Gosh, they're all so good. I do like the underdog stories mostly when I'm thinking about my sports stuff. So I was kind of shying away from the Arrows because of that, because they're kind of like, you know, destined to win for the most part.
They're all about legacy and about the terror of losing your position.
Yeah.
A less Laughing Heart story, I think.
Yeah, no, it's not.
It feels a lot like, you know, there's going to be a lot of story around like discipline and you got to keep your head in the game and all that sort of stuff instead of like a lot of lighthearted bolstering your comrades through everything.
So maybe looking at the demons or the sharks then as our 2.
I kind of like the demons. I like the idea of like we're trying to get back.
Yeah.
I like the colors of the demons too,
Cool. All right. Let's be the demons, the fallen champs. So this means we need to decide what order we are going to be playing the other teams in. And if you're playing a short game here, you can just like, if you say you're only playing like, you know, one session or whatever, you can hide the games you're not going to be using and just pick the ones that you that you want. But for the sake of drama, let's set up our full tournament arc here. So we need to decide which order we're going to play the 3 other teams in.
So I think obviously we have to play the Arrows last since they're the reigning champions.
Right,
that's going to be the drama, right?
Yeah. So that
means
for the quarters, we can either play the newcomers or we can play our troubled talent that just can't keep it together.
I like troubled talent first.
Because
I like the thought of the newcomers like actually
getting a
being
chance.
super
I don't want them to go down right away. That makes me feel bad.
I know.
We're not playing them, but we support them anyway. Or we support them up to the semis anyway. After that, it's like, no.
Yeah, it's not our fault that we're better than them, but we were really rooting for them. You know? Too bad there can't be more than one winner. But we still have to decimate them.
All right. So we're going to play the Dockside Demons. Quarters, we're going to be up against the troubled talents. Semis against our rising newcomers. And then our grand final against the reigning powerhouse of Decimation Squad 5.
Yes.
So that is our group section. We're going to move on now to individual preferences. And these I usually, when I am running the game, I will just explain each section and then get everyone to fill it out in their own time rather than everyone saying it out loud, because it just gives you a bit more privacy to have a think about, you know, these more personal aspects and put them down at a time that suits you. So basically our questions are, what do we want to avoid in our game? These can be things we don't want to see either because like they make us uncomfortable or like we're just a trope that we're just not interested in. How do we feel about romance involving our characters? And like Fight with Spirit is a bunch of fun to play with or or without romantic plot lines. It's good both ways, but I think it's important to be upfront about it so that people feel comfortable about the relationships that they establish. And then the good stuff. What do we want to see in our game? Our wishes. So we got those 3 sections there. So I will let y'all in your own time sort of go through those and fill them out. For the bottom 2, you just like grab a spot, check your name in there, and then put the thing. And I'll fill it out as well.
Interesting, because I saw you've got examples of like things to avoid on here, which I think is fantastic to get the mind going for people to be thinking about that. And I was like, well, one of them is gory descriptions of injuries and stuff, right? And I'm like, well, that's where we're playing video games. And I'm like, oh, we're playing Decimation Squad 5. And if we actually talk about what's happening in the game, maybe there is potential for gory descriptions there. So that makes a lot of sense.
Ryan knows my feelings about that.
Uh-huh.
It's fine if it happens. Don't tell me what sound it makes.
Uh-huh.
I feel like pretty good with all the example ones in there, honestly. I feel like that's it's good for me.
Cool, then you can groove on forward to the next 2 sections.
Ryan, for our dear listeners, Ryan has written as one of his wishes, really intense descriptions of the match, immediately juxtaposed with descriptions of our characters sitting there still watching a screen very mundanely. I do love the idea of like everybody kind of like hunched over and like just like the sort of like screen light kind of reflecting off your glasses. Sort of.
Yep.
It does
like
fit with our
super
video.
intense. And there's like the big like swelling music, and then it zooms out and it's just like a bunch of people standing around like keyboard clacking. Like, love it. Love it.
And it kind of picks up on something interesting too, which is that even if you're playing a more conventional sport than Decimation Squad 5, like a lot of what's happening in this game is internal. It's about your thoughts and feelings. So, this moment is important, actually.
Exactly.
So I'm not going to call out the rest, but our other 2 wishes were mine was for a clash of different play styles and team approaches. And Amelia wanted a dramatic come from behind win of some kind. So those are fun things to
which,
see.
I know we can't entirely control, but like...
Yeah, well, we have the not like this match game on the table, so
true.
It could be in our hands.
True.
Awesome. All right, so that's our collaboration complete. We've got a lot of decisions that we made about the game we're going to play. We've got our individual preferences there that we've all had a look at, and now we can move on to team creation. So we want to go to the tab for the demons, since that is a team that we're going to be playing. And as I mentioned before, every team in the game has a little story that kind of like is the fictional positioning around where that team is sitting as the game begins. So our game is always going to begin, as you saw, in the quarterfinals. So some stuff has happened this year already. And we're starting when we're getting to the challenging part of the tournament in the quarters. So this is kind of like what got the demons to this point. Would one of you like to read out loud our team story for the Dockside Demons that sort of starts at the Fallen Champs and kind of like goes through that section? Or I can do it if you prefer as well.
No, I can read that
first
little section here. Once, your school was the powerhouse of the region, but in your time on the team, you've never even made it to the final rounds. For years, Dockside has been bleeding talent, funding, and passion to new schools opening up in the area. You hear what other teams say about the Demons, the same talk about how far you've fallen. Last year, your team captain couldn't even bring themselves to enter you into a major tournament. Well, that's really sad.
Yeah.
It's okay. The second part is also part of the team story. So your comeback is now. But this year, things are different. Since the day school began, you and your teammates have practiced your hearts out and given your all to make your team the best it can be. You proudly showed your face again at the regional tournament and made it through the first rounds, knocking out your early opponents. Now you've reached the quarters and many eyes are on your team for the first time in years. Now you show them all. You're back and better than ever. So that's the starting story for the Demons. That's what's happened to y'all so far.
Okay.
So in this team section, we are going to make some team level choices about team level choices about our team. We're going to make some team level choices about the Dockside Demons to customize them a bit more for our game. We will then go and make our characters, and then we're going to come back and do like one final thing for our team, which is the team special. So that happens at the end after character creation.
Ooh.
So there's a few things we know about the demons. We know their colors are midnight blue and deep gold. We know their story leading up into this moment. The first thing that we need to decide is who is the demon's coach? And our options here are a player from Dockside's glory days, an old-timer seeking revenge on last year's winners, an ex-pro who mysteriously retired, a supervising teacher who doesn't really know sport, or you don't have one.
I kind of like either the first or last one, like a former player from the Dockside's glory days, or we just don't have a coach. Like the coaches gave up on the team and we had to pick it up from the ashes.
Well, didn't we also say that this is like a relatively new version of it? Like it's never had 5 players before. So, I mean, it kind of makes sense that maybe we wouldn't even have a coach because like nobody even really knows the game.
All right. Sounds like
I mean, that would make a lot of sense.
Towards not having a coach. We got to do this on our
own.
own.
What was the one? There was one that was like a teacher or something that doesn't know anything about. A
supervising teacher that doesn't know anything about the sport. It's just a math teacher.
I kind of like that one because I like the idea of having that NPC to play around with.
That's true. Like they're there just to try to motivate you, but they have no idea how to motivate you.
They like get extra pay for like being in charge of a team and staying late after school. But then over the course of the story, they start to really believe in us. It's an opportunity.
Okay, I do like that a lot.
Okay.
Nice. All right. So supervising teacher who doesn't really know sport. They probably keep calling it like Declamation Squad 5 or something like that. But it's fine. We're going to get them on side. All right. The next question is, what is a practice area like? Which is interesting to think about for esports. And our options here are cramped and badly organized. Half of it has been reassigned to another school group. Decaying facilities still filled with memorabilia from the glory days. Or a rented community space, a bus ride away from the school. I got to take the bus to the internet cafe where we can practice.
I kind of like that cramped and badly organized that like because I think the idea that like it was a like pretty nice computer lab or whatever, and now it's like we're down to, you know, a couple sad computers that we've had to like bring our own stuff from home to even be able to run the software.
It's shared with the printer room. So like we have to play and practice while people are printing stuff.
Like while the teachers are in there making all their worksheet copies and stuff. And it's so hot in there. It's so hot because between the computers and the printers, like it's just like
better.
So we come out looking sweaty like we've actually played a sport. But it's like everybody go shower off.
But like you're practicing with distractions, with like discomfort. You're like you're in the trenches.
These are real game conditions, right? I don't know, it makes the air-conditioned computer labs at the other schools feel like we got this. Like this is amazing. It's a spa.
I really like the idea you said of like this was a state-of-the-art computer lab 10 years ago and computers changed fast, so everything is kind of like pieced together. That's cool. All right, so the next thing we're going to decide is our relationships to the other teams. So there's lots of options to choose from here. We're going to have, this is a team level relationship. So this is basically like how overall the Dockside Demons feel about the Ash Point Arrows or whatever it is. So have a look through the long list here. And if there is one that calls to you for, we need to decide it for each of the teams we're going to be facing off against in the tournament, then shout out. And these will all create different possible story potential when we get to creating our characters and the people around them as well.
For the arrows, I kind of either like big champs or leech talent. Like I kind of like leech talent, considering that like we almost didn't have a team, so that like anybody who did want to play would have to go somewhere else.
Yeah, leech talent is like also a unique relationship that only like you can only choose if you're the demon, so it makes a lot of sense in this case as well with
Mhm.
the arrows, since we know they're going to be like our final team to face off against.
Mm-hmm.
There might be someone
I like-
there that we know.
I
Mhm.
like the thought of local kids for the sharks. Kind of like we know them from our community,
Mhm.
and like that's why we're rooting for them to do well in the tournament.
Aren't they though? I thought that the sharks were the ones that we were like.
Yeah, the sharks and the rising newcomers that we were
Right.
gonna face in the semifinals.
Right. They were the ones that we were like, we don't want you to lose, but
Right.
you have to.
Yeah, so
Mhm.
maybe their school is also in our school district.
Okay.
So maybe our schools are physically like only 15, 20 minutes away from each other or something like that.
Are they like the community college team versus the state university team?
Yeah, that makes a lot of
effectively?
sense. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that idea a lot.
Yeah, or like one's like private university, one's state university, kind of, you know.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about like Milwaukee. We have Marquette and we have UW Milwaukee and we have MATC and we have, I don't know, you could throw Carroll University in there if you wanted to, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And what do we think of former teammates for the Neons?
Yeah, I like the idea of like both of those being teams that we know people
Mm.
on.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Well, we know people on all the teams because they've been taking our talent.
That's true. That's true.
So
Yeah.
the Neons are the former teammates, so people that you might have played with in the out of school league back when it was
Yeah.
Decimation Squad 4.
Yeah, like
Yep.
online and everything.
Yeah,
like we were in
online.
the online rooms and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We would always cross paths, and sometimes we'd be on the same team, sometimes we'd be against each other.
Yeah,
But
I
like
that.
that team's like so disparate of like legends of the individual
Yeah.
legends online, right?
Well, yeah, maybe they're like people that we knew like when we were all, because now we're in college, but like when we were all back in high school,
Mm.
you know, some of them we played
Yeah.
with, some of them we just knew from.
Yeah, good old Decimation Squad 3 days.
Oh, yeah.
I
Mhm.
really like the idea, Ryan, that you were sort of getting at there, that the Neons are like a team composited of like people who from the online league have like individually really high scores in the game and then just
Mhm.
shoved into a team, which explains why they're
Yeah.
having trouble.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. It's
They're
like
like,
all the,
they have their
all the
own
best
best
talent, but
strategies.
they can't play together as a team.
Yeah.
You know.
Awesome. All right.
Their
So
their coach is constantly stressed out
I can only
Like,
imagine.
at their limit.
Like just like, is it just like a team full of divas that like won't
Yep.
play
That's
together?
what I'm thinking. Like half
Mhm.
divas, half that are trying, half that are like, I'm the best on this team. You'd be nothing without me.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing.
They're trying to do like a lot of escape rooms together to really kind of learn to work together as a team.
Amazing.
That's good.
Lots of
And
team building activities.
these ideas are going to be very helpful when we're creating the Neons that we're going to face off against in just a moment. So that's brilliant. So that's the decisions made about the Darkside Demons for now. We know where they've been and where they want to go. We know who their coach is. Just a random teacher. We know what their practice area is like in the printer room, and then we know their relationships to the three teams we'll be facing off against. So that means we are going to move along to creating our individual characters.
Ooh.
So if you'd like
Nice.
to come over to the characters tab, and I'm just going to kind of talk through what we're looking at here. So basically, each of us is going to be playing a major character who is the heroes of our story, the people that the story is focused on. As the person who is like facilitating or running the game, you have a choice for yourself whether or not you want to play a major character at all. And if you do, whether they're going to be on the same team as the other characters or they're going to be from one of the rival teams.
Oh.
So in a small game, like we have 3 people, right? I would highly recommend that the facilitator play a major character. So that's something I'm definitely going to be doing. I think for the sake of character creation, it could be fun if I'm from a rival team. Just going to put that out there. But I could also be from the demons if we feel like we need more demon members to like round out our cast as well.
I feel like we need more demons
All
just so that we
right.
get a real solid feel for
Okay, sounds good.
who we are.
We can create our rivals later. So basically, when you are creating a character, the most important thing you're going to have is your traits. And that's kind of like what I was mentioning earlier. So a trait has a few parts to it. You've got your, the name of the trait, like our new captain. Beneath that, you have your trait drive. So like for that one, heal divisions within the team or pull rank and put your foot down. Then a bit of description about what's behind it. So you've been waiting so long to take this team into your own hands. Time to fix the mistakes of those who came before you. Beneath that, you have a question that is going to form a relationship between you and another character. So in this case, who have you taken under your wing? And you'll notice those questions can be in one of two colors. So some of them are orange and some of them are pink. That is because they're going to connect you with different types of characters. So our orange questions connect us to other characters on the demons. And the pink questions are going to connect you to characters that are outside of the demons. For the most part, this is going to be our rivals, but it could be someone like your mother or your coach or someone like that, another person in your life as well. And then beneath that, at the very bottom, is some questions for you to answer during character creation to help you flesh out your character. So for that one, what past mistake are you determined to fix, and what worries you most about your new role? So basically, traits are important both because they're going to make the backbone of your character, but during the game, as well as that, when you have finished your trait drive, you will complete your trait. And when you complete your trait, that is going to give you a bonus, which you can use during matches to be extra cool. So there's going to be sort of a character goal to shoot towards during the game to help drive the drama and to give you that extra boost during matches as well. So character creation actually begins with each of us choosing the traits that we would like.
All right.
So to do that, you just like drop down in the choose a trait drop docs. There is many, many traits to choose from for this game. If you need help kind of trying to decide on one of your traits, in the Demons Team tab on the sidebar, there is a little section called Recommended First Traits. And in that section, there is like a bunch of traits that we feel like embodies the story of the demons. So you can like pick one of those traits as well. The only other thing I would say about picking traits is it's great to pick traits that are going to add different aspects to your character. So it's not going to be as fun if you pick two traits that are kind of like just really just honing down on one aspect of your character. It's best to pick something that is going to add a secondary dimension to your character. And then the last thing, the real last thing about picking traits is that at least one of your traits needs to have a orange relationship question. The other one, the second one can be orange or pink. So at least one needs to have an orange question. The second one can be orange or pink. And I believe that in the drop down, they are sorted into which ones have the orange, which ones have a pink to make it a little bit easier for you.
Wonderful.
Awesome.
And that's it for me for now. So yeah, go ahead and choose traits, and I'll do the same.
Right. Okay.
I'm gonna
pick a
Are you
column.
taking orange, Amelia?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll take red.
I'll be in the green then. Oh, traits are unique. So if one person chooses a trait, another person cannot also have that same trait. That's very obvious in the physical version of the game because like you physically take the card and it's like another person can't physically take the card.
Ooh.
But when you're playing online, it's something that needs to be noted.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of good traits in here.
I know. I'm like, okay, we're not picking big family, big obligations. That's too close to home. It's called Amelia didn't get to do clubs or anything in high school because she had too many younger siblings.
Uh-huh.
This is really hard to choose.
Uh-huh. I'm narrowing it down right now.
Okay. I think I picked.
Nice.
Maybe.
I'm almost there.
Almost there. There's a lot to choose from, and I like want to like read all of them and like.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, these really like flesh out a personality, don't they?
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to start thinking about names already too, though, because it takes me so long to like.
I know.
That's
pick
important.
anything.
Okay, I think I've got mine.
Awesome. Perfect. All right. So
Wow.
let's so the next thing that we're going to do before we actually start fleshing out our characters fully is decide on the relationships between our characters. And the reason why we're going to do that is because, you know, if our character is going to have a sibling or a lifelong crush or something like that, we want to know about that while we're putting our characters together.
That's a good idea.
So for this, we're going to be looking at our traits that have those orange questions that I mentioned. Any traits that have the pink questions, we're going to be worrying about those a bit later.
Okay.
So we've got, so the way that it's going to connect is that someone else is going to come in to answer the question on my trait. So the question, who have you taken under your wing? That's going to mean that my character has taken another character under their wing. And it's going to be another major character. So it's either going to be Ryan's character or Amelia's character. So to do this, the best way to do it is just kind of like look around at the traits that the other... Actually, we should probably say which traits we picked because this is a podcast.
Yes,
See,
we should probably tell people. Yep. Yeah,
this
is an audio medium.
Yeah, this is us. I'm just too used to running games. I'll finish my sentence and then we could do that.
Yes,
so
sure.
To do this, the best way to do that is to kind of just look around at the traits that other people have and the relationship questions on that trait and see if there's any that like really draws to you for your character, any connections that are like jumping out of your head to form. And then once we've done the ones that like are really pulling towards us, then we can look at any of if there is any traits left. So in aid of that, let's all say which traits that we've chosen so that we can make those connections more easily. Ryan, would you like to start since you're on the left? Yeah.
Sure. So I chose tempting offer to accept or reject the offer to play for another school. And team heartthrob. So pander to the crowd in a tough moment or hurt your image for an important cause. I thought that was an interesting combination. Like, does the other team want me because I'm like, you know, the likable face of the team?
Because you're the guy that always takes his shirt off when we win.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
So I chose our new captain. So heal divisions within the team. I'll pull rank and put your foot down is my drive. And then the other one I chose is Rival Start, which is going to connect me to a rival character. And that one is about learn to treat your childhood friend as an enemy or find a way to reconcile.
I took Quitter Returns. Restore your friendship with your teammate or form a new bond in the team. And then I did Ready or Not. Seize the dream you've been working towards or acknowledge you're not ready.
So good.
I know. These are really colorful. Like
I know.
So has anyone got like a relationship or a connection that is jumping out at them from looking at these traits and particularly the orange questions on the traits?
Yeah.
I think mine depends on both of your answers for yours.
And you've got 2 orange traits, Ryan. So I could definitely see that the best way to handle that will be like one of those is going to go to each of our characters, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because like, who do I wish I could take with me is for my tempting offer. So if I was the connection for you, Haley, for if you taken me under your wing, then I probably would take that, right?
Yeah.
But if my connection with Amelia was who did you hurt most when you quit the team, I would probably choose that for that one, maybe.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
I mean, so I'm thinking my question for Quitter Returns is who did you hurt most when you quit the team? And I'm thinking that like, Haley, if you're the team captain, like you're very devoted to this team or at least, you know, like you had to be to get to this point.
Yeah.
Right? So I feel like it would probably be you.
Love that. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I'm a new captain too now, but I wouldn't have been a captain back then.
Right.
I could definitely see that our characters would have had different feelings about how devoted we were to Decimation Squad and where we wanted to go with it. especially when the demons, you know, are in this time of just loss and failure and embarrassment over and over again. So in that case, that's going to mean that Ryan's character is the one that my character has taken under their wing. Oh, by the way, there is a relationship section on the sheet, which is just like a bit above the traits where you can like note down the relationships that you have to the other major characters as well, so that we have some way to remember them. Name, obviously, we don't know yet. We don't know our character's name, but we will.
No. We will.
So in that case, how do you reckon those two relationships you have are going to play out, Ryan?
So then let's see. So I would think then, then I'm going to say for my tempting offer, who do you wish you could take with you would go to your character, Haley, since you've taken me under your wing. I'm learning everything from you about this. And because of that, we work very well together. So I want to like kind of being the newbie to the team effectively, right? Would want to take you with because you're the one that has the big talent. I'm kind of like your shadow effectively at that point, right?
Yeah. So we don't know what positions exist in Decimation Squad 5. But what you're saying makes me think that maybe like my character and your character have two positions that work with each other closely. And possibly to add
there.
Insult to injury from Amelia's character is that could have been the position that Amelia's character had before they left.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah.
Did you take my job?
Did I? I don't know.
Jerk.
Maybe that's why your character has recently caught my eye for the Team Heartthrob question, because we were drawn to the same character type. We got similar tastes there.
So yeah, I mean, the question too is like, who has recently caught your eye? I mean, and I know that the thing is like Team Heartthrob, but that like caught your eye doesn't necessarily have to be a good thing. I think too, like, you know, it can also be
have
like
multiple aspects to it at once,
right?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
You're like, oh no, I don't want to lose my position to this other person either. You know?
I think it's complicated in my character's head.
I like that.
As Avril Lavigne would say. Why'd you have to go and make things so complicated?
Call to action.
Yeah, like that.
I have heard so much about this game ever since it was released. So many good things. Nobody has really had a bad thing to say about the game. And the fact that James D'Amato worked to actually create a supplement for this game for Skyjoust is phenomenal. And actually, right now, if you go to our show notes, there is a link to that supplement, which they actually released, which just looks fantastic. And it's new rules, new fun stuff for this game. But aside from that, just learning about this from Haley was a phenomenal experience. And the stuff that we came up with was so good. The process, we talk about it in our discussion episode of it, how the process is just so seamless throughout. But like, I love this game so much, and I really want to play this game so badly, and really thrilled that we were able to get this one in here for this month. So we hope you're enjoying the series so far. But before we let you go for the day, we do have some calls to action that I have to go over. First up is we just ordered stickers for our Sticker of the Month Club. 2 folks supporting us on the Patreon at the $10 and up level. We'd like to model the stickers after the series from the month. And we're playing a bit of catch up because the aforementioned Life Being Life. We'll have a post up on our Patreon showcasing them soon. But as a teaser, the first one that we have is for January, and it is a lovely language. graphic. The second is for February and is a red cape with flowers. And the third is for March for this series, and we will tell you more about that one next time to avoid any spoilers. You can get this and so much more from our Patreon. If you do sign up at the $5 and higher level, you'll get some custom C3 dice, a personal thank you card, extra bonus episodes, amongst some other things. But even at the $1 level, you will get a thank you every episode. The list is getting pretty long, so we did have to double everyone up as usual. But we will start everything off as normal with Lieutenant and DJG, aka Tyrannosaurus. Thank you so much. Eric Bonts and Daryl Holiday II, our deepest thanks. Many thanks to Shadim Cabal and the Shyest Barbarian. Benjamin Sweeney and Lorcan McGinnis, we appreciate your support. Thank you. Thanks, Rob Fletcher and Kevin Brown. We are so glad to have you here with us. Tentacle Duck and Cole McCallum, we're happy to have you here with us. Thank you. John Adamus and Simon's Slightly Seductive, serenading snakes, spreading swing sweet sounds while secretly, silently slithering into our spleens. Many thanks to you. Also you. Carlos Salazar and Eric S., thank you for your support. Ross Kingston and Ian Potmeyer, thanks for helping us make this show. Thank you to Sorigoth and Liam G. Thank you to Brian Colm and the Garden GM. Your support brings us so much joy. Tom and Blue Kryptonite, thank you for your continued support. We're glad to have you here. Danny and Nicole Trainer, thanks for supporting. Liam Murray and Kenning, many thanks to you. Brian Kurtz and Mark E. Fair, we appreciate your support. Thank you. And Drew Owen, we are so thankful for your support as well. And thank you to all of our future patrons. Your support is helping keep the lights on for this show. We're able to afford things like a webpage, cloud storage, remote recording software, editing software and plugins, PDFs or books for the games to cover, among a lot of other miscellaneous expenses. We are currently barely breaking even, so if you want to help us out at all, this is the absolute best way to do so, which will allow us to do even more for you in the future. That's all we have for you for today's episode. Come back here next week to hear the conclusion to our character creation portion of this series with Haley, which sets up a truly spectacular discussion episode with some amazing fanfic. I'm so excited for this series, so thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. Until next time, take care, stay safe, drink some water, believe in the heart of your squads, and keep making those amazing people. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for joining us for part 1 of this character creation series. We'll be back in part 2, picking up right where we left off.
Character Creation Cast is a production of the One Shot Podcast Network and can be found online at www.charactercreationcast.com. Head to the website to get more information on our hosts, this show, and even our press kit. Character Creation Cast can also be found on Twitter and Blue Sky at CreationCast, or on our Discord server at discord.charactercreationcast.com. I'm one of your hosts, Ryan Bolter, and I can be found on Twitter and Blue Sky at Lord Neptune or online at lordneptune.com. Our other host, Amelia Antrim, can be found on Twitter and Blue Sky at Ginger Reckoning. Music for this episode is used with a Creative Commons license or with permission from the podcast they originated from. Further information can be found within the show notes. Our main theme music is Hero Remix by Steve Combs and is used with a Creative Commons license. This podcast is owned by us under Creative Commons. This episode was edited by Ryan Bolter. Further information for the game systems used and today's guests can also be found in the show notes. If you'd like to support our show, find us on Patreon. Get access to bonus episodes, exclusive merch, and much more at patreon.com/charactercreationcast. Thanks for joining us. And remember, we find that the best part of any role-playing game is character creation. So go out there and create some amazing people. We'll see you next time.